Mr. Garland, why Jack Smith? Why'd you pick him?
I've said at the time I appointed Mr. Smith, I explained he was independent. He was a longtime career prosecutor
But there are probably other people who you would describe as independent, long-time career prosecutor. Why did you pick, this is probably the most high-profile special counsel investigation, maybe in American history. You're going to be investigating a former president, a candidate for president, and leading in all the polls, and you pick Jack Smith. Most important selection maybe ever made from Attorney General when you come to a special counsel. I just want to know why you could have picked former AGs, deputy AGs, U.S. attorneys. You got all kinds of lawyers in this town, but you picked Jack Smith.
All the people you just mentioned would be political appointees. I appointed somebody who was not a political appointee, somebody who was independent, nonpartisan, with a record of career experience as a prosecutor. That seemed to me the perfect resume for making that kind of.
He was a guy, worked, you had to bring him back from Europe. He worked at the ICC, worked at the World Court. He was the best pick for the most high-profile investigation ever.
He was independent. He was nonpartisan. He had never held a political office. He was never appointed in a political office.
Was he your first choice?
He had a long career as a career prosecutor.
Was he your first choice?
I'm not going to go into the questions.
Did you know him before you picked him?
I did not.
You never worked with him?
I did not.
Did you meet with him prior to announcing his selection and tell him what was going on?
Of course I did.
What happened in that meeting?
I met with him. I asked him if he would be willing to do this. We talked about my understandings of the role of this office, which are on the public record. That's all.
Did he ask for the job?
This is not a job I don't think anybody asks for. I'm sorry.
No, but that's not the question I asked you. I said, did Jack Smith ask for the job?
He did not ask me for the job, no.
Did he convey through someone else that he wanted the job?
I would be surprised if that were the case, but
you don't know?
No, I don't know.
So he may have?
I can only tell you what I know. I chose him because he had a record of impartial career experience as a prosecutor. That's why he was chosen.
Was it impartial when he went after Governor McDonnell?
He was a member of the...
He was after Governor McDonnell. That case gets appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously said it was wrong and overturns the conviction?
He was in the public integrity section of the Justice Department, a career position. They made the decisions they thought were warranted, and we respect the decision of the Supreme Court.
Did the fact that he was interested in going after the very people who were targeted by the IRS about a decade ago, did that have any influence on your selection? Okay, let's put up this slide here. This is from Jack Smith to some other folks in the Justice Department, and it says, could we ever charge a conspiracy to violate laws of the U.S. for misuse of such nonprofits to get around existing campaign finance laws? Jack Smith was looking to prosecute the very people who were targeted by the Obama IRS.
I don't know. You have excerpts from an email I've never seen. You should know that
IRS Commissioner Sarah, I'm just asking, did this weigh into your decision? Did you know about this?
No,
what Jack Smith was trying to do?
I also don't know if it's true now.
IRS Commissioner Sarah Ingram oversees this from Jack Smith himself. Let's discuss tomorrow, but maybe we should try to set up a meeting this week. And here's the response. Here's the response. You didn't get your meeting with Miss Ingram from the IRS, but she's sending the head of the exempt organizations, Lois Lerner, who's known to us. So Jack Smith meeting with Lois Lerner, looking for ways to prosecute the very people who were victims of the Obama IRS. And I'm just asking, did that factor in your decision to name Jack Smith as special counsel?
I didn't have any idea about the things.
Didn't know about that?
No, and I don't know whether they're true now by looking at this.
But they're definitely true, but you didn't know about it. But this guy was so important, you have to bring him from Europe back here to go after President Trump, name him as a special counsel. Do you regret the pick?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Do you regret picking him?
No, I do not regret picking him.
Well, prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He told the court that.
Now you're asking me to comment on a discovery dispute that's ongoing in a court. I don't know the facts of it, and I'm not going to comment on it.
No, this is from Jack Smith filing with the court. He admitted to the court that they tampered with the evidence. He mishandled the very documents he's charging President Trump with mishandling. And I'm just asking, do you regret picking this guy as the special counsel in the most important special counsel investigation probably in American history?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the words tamper in the statement that Mr. Smith filed. He did not use those words.
Well, let me ask it this way. Are you supposed to change the order of the documents that you seize and the physical documents don't match up with the scanned documents? Are you supposed to do that as a prosecutor?
This is a matter in dispute, in discovery in that court, and I'm going to leave it for the district court to make a determination. After
I would just say one last thing. It's not in dispute. This is what he said in the court filing. Jack Smith's team said that to the judge in the court. By the way, this case is now basically on hold because they've screwed up so many things.
Again, I don't know whether your description of the facts are true or not true, and I'm not going to intrude in a decision in a district court.
I want to start by reading you the appointment clause of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 6 states, the President shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. Are U.S. attorneys nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate according to this appointments clause?
They are appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate.
Wouldn't you agree that U.S. attorneys are held to the appointments clause because they are delegated some part of the sovereign power of the United States, such as the ability to make indictments and charge individuals with crimes?
I would say that those are not the reasons why, and a court has already ruled on the question of whether special counsels are subject to the appointments clause in the Mueller case, and ruled that they were not. Was
Jack Smith nominated by President Biden or confirmed by the U.S. Senate?
You're asking me about a case, again, motions filed as you just cited.
This is a simple question.
No, I'm not.
Was Jack Smith nominated by President Biden?
No, he was not.
Was he confirmed by the Senate?
No, he was not.
When was the special counsel statute passed?
There is no special counsel statute. There was an independent counsel statute that was expired.
So it expired. So what gives you the authority to appoint a special counsel? You've created an office in the U.S. government that does not exist without authorization from Congress.
There are regulations under which the Attorney General appoints special counsel. They've been in effect for 30 years, maybe longer, under both parties. The matter that you're talking about whether somebody can have an employee of the Justice Department serve as special counsel has been adjudicated.
You appealed, let me interrupt for a second, because you appealed to a regulation, a rule, whereas the Constitution says shall be established by law.
Yeah, the statutes.
Right, the statute, but you referred to a regulation, not to U.S. code.
May I answer? The regulation cites the two U.S. Code provisions that permit the Attorney General's appointment. Attorney General Barr cited to the same ones.
Are you familiar?
Even Attorney General Meese did that.
All right. Are you familiar with former Attorney General Meese's amicus brief?
No.
You're not?
I know that he's filed one because I read it in the newspapers, but otherwise I'm not familiar with it. But
well, he raises some good questions that I agree with in there. It seems like you've created an office that would require an act of Congress, yet there's not an act of Congress that authorizes that. And even if it didn't require an act of Congress, and you've already admitted it, there was no act of Congress that established this office, it would still require, according to the Constitution, a nomination by the President and confirmation by the Senate. I want to move on to January 6th. Is it accurate to say that the DOJ is on pace to arrest roughly one protester a day in 2024, nearly 3 years after the incident?
I don't know what the pace is. The job is to arrest and bring to justice people who are criminally responsible, and as they are found, they will be arrested.
Is your office preparing to drop charges against more than 340 January 6thers charged with 1512C2 and release dozens from prison on that count if the Supreme Court this month reverses how your department has used that statute against them?
We respect the Supreme Court. Whatever the court rules, we will act appropriately.
So you'll have to drop the charges if the Supreme Court says that you did that wrongfully.
I'm not going to answer hypotheticals. We'll wait and see what the Supreme Court says.
What do you say in response to D.C. Appellate Court overturning 2 excessive sentencing requests sought by your office?
I say that is a United States system of justice working. If people think that they have inappropriate sentences, they can appeal their sentences. That's the way our system works, and we respect the results.
So you've refused to answer questions before us, including my questions about January 6th on multiple occasions here in this committee, but the Inspector General is preparing a report. Are you in receipt of that report yet? He's promised to examine the role and activity of DOJ and its components in preparing for and responding to the events at the U.S. Capitol. Are you in receipt of that?
I'm not in receipt of any report. You'll have to ask the Inspector General.
Isn't it true that it will go to you before it's released for review?
I don't know about it will not go to me for review. The Inspector General is independent. I hope to see it before, but that's up to the Inspector General. Let me just remind you, I was not the Attorney General on January 6th.
Do we have your commitment to release that as soon as you see it?
The determination of the release of Inspector General reports is up to the Inspector General. We give them independence. Congress demands that we give them independence.
My time has expired, but we have your commitment not to slow down the release of that from the Inspector General.
Our Inspector General is a very independent person. There's no way I could stop him from doing what the law requires.
I yield back.
And I would certainly never do that.
Mr. Attorney General, are you above reproach?
I'm not above criticism. I'm not sure what you mean by reproach, but of course you're totally free to criticize me, and I expect
Yeah, as
you will.
American citizens, we can criticize you. We can criticize all of our government employees, can't we?
Absolutely.
Because you've seemed to whine quite a bit today about being attacked or people challenging the decisions that you've made. I actually think that Daniel Greenfield, a contributor to Front Page Magazine, may have said it best when he said that a justice system can survive those who challenge the prosecutors, but it can't survive those who prosecute the challengers, which is kind of the situation we're in with the Biden administration and you at the helm of the Attorney General's office. Attorney General Garland, in March, Chairman Jordan and I sent you an oversight letter requesting documents and information following the release of an undercover video indicating that the DOJ was working with the IRS to use artificial intelligence to surveil bank accounts of Americans in a clearly unconstitutional manner. The undercover video featured an IRS official privately admitting that the IRS had been using AI to spy on Americans' bank accounts en masse in real time. The IRS official further stated that the Department of Justice and Inspector General controlled this AI-powered warrantless surveillance system, not the IRS. Attorney General, would you agree with me that if the federal government were operating this form of financial surveillance program, there would be serious Fourth Amendment as well as other statutory and civil rights implications, considering that there is no individual probable cause and no search warrants are being obtained?
I would be stunned if the Justice Department has the kind of AI
capabilities
that you're talking about.
Would you agree with me that would you agree with me?
Learn about this.
Would you agree with me that if they were engaging in that kind of surveillance, it would have serious Fourth Amendment implications?
I can't understand the kind of surveillance that you're talking about. Fourth Amendment prevents unreasonable searches and seizures without a warrant. If that's what we're doing, then of course that would violate the Fourth Amendment.
Okay, so I would request that you go back and read the letter that Jim Jordan and I sent to you. That might clear up your confusion just a bit.
I'll be happy to do that.
Now, while the committee has been following up with the department about this matter for months now, the department only replied with a formal response to the committee late last week. In the department's response letter, a DOJ spokesman, the Assistant Attorney General, Carlos Iriarte, stated that the department is, quote, not aware of the department using any AI program that reflects the description in our March 20th letter, end quote. But saying that the chief AI officer is, quote, not aware of the department coordinating with the IRS to use AI to unconstitutionally spy on Americans' financial records is very different from saying unequivocally that the department is not doing so. Why won't the department just give us a clear answer as to whether it is actually using AI to spy on American citizens' financial records?
I'll be happy to take your letter back, and apparently you already have received a letter. I'll take it back and we'll see whether we can get you a clearer letter for you.
I would appreciate that. I want to turn to another serious issue the infiltration of our tribal communities by the Mexican cartels because of Joe Biden and Mayorkas's open border. As chair of the Subcommittee on Indian and Insular Affairs, I have heard from tribes across the nation about this issue. In your written testimony, you actually mentioned how the department is working with tribal partners to disrupt cartel supply chains and that the department is zeroing in on the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels. However, in April, the president of the Fort Belknap Indian community testified to the department's failures, stating, quote, "We don't have help from the FBI, the Border Patrol, the DEA, that has jurisdiction on federal lands, which are reservations." Attorney General Garland, his testimony comes from a tribe where the Sinaloa cartel operates with near impunity in its region. Drugs have devastated the community, reservations have become part of the cartel supply chain, and the Mexican cartels are intimidating Americans testifying before Congress. Yet the FBI and DOJ are largely absent. The tribe's experience runs in direct contrast to your testimony. Have you been in contact with any of our tribes about the impact that mass illegal immigration, human trafficking, and drug smuggling are having on their members?
Not only have I been in contact with the tribes, I've been on the reservation in Montana and Alaska. The answer to your question is Congress is not giving us money for FBI agents to go into the reservations.
So this is Congress's fault that you won't do your job.
It's Congress's
This
fault.
is Congress's fault that you won't protect
I will do
our
my-
reservation, that you won't protect our reservations from the consequences of the Biden and Mayorkas open border policies. That's Congress's fault, not theirs.
If you give us money for more FBI
Oh, you
agents
need more
for the
money for FBI
reservations,
agents.
they will
How about
go
if
to the
they just
reservations.
enforce the border?
But they're not
How
going
about
to
if
use
you
them for
ask
body
them
cameras.
to enforce
Just
the
ask
border?
Brian Malinowski, because he was murdered in a raid.
Time
And
the
there's no
gentleman
body
has expired.
cameras. And none of the other federal agencies use body cameras either, it doesn't seem
We're
like.
out on this side, but I would
HHS.
offer
Unanimous consent?
unanimous
FBI,
consent
you know the CIA
for,
doesn't use it.
two letters that may
ATF, which
address
was the
Ms. Hageman's
Malinowski
line of
raid.
questioning. One is dated April 22nd, 2024, from the Department of
They
Treasury.
don't
This is
have the
addressed to
money
you,
for
Mr.
body
Chairman.
cameras.
It's
Believe
from
that the federal
Jorge
government
Tellez, who is
alleges
the
they don't have money for
acting
body
secretary,
cameras.
and the other is,
Unreal.
she may have referenced, I'm not sure, from the Department of Justice to you, Mr. Chairman, it's from Mr. Uriarte, it's dated May 31st, 2024.
And I would ask for unanimous consent for an article, Cartels Infiltrating Native Reservations with Fentanyl, according to a tribal leader.
Thank you. Without objection.